Well, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'm recording this video a day before Christmas, but I thought I'd, wish you guys a Merry Christmas for when this video is uploaded on Christmas Day. And yeah, I thought I'd bring you guys a treat. Obviously, you loved my Tenet video I put up last week. It's hit just over 10,000 views, which I just can't believe it's hit that much. So I'd like to thank you guys for all the support on that video. And I'm going to do a follow-up. I'm going to do another video on Tenet, Christopher Nolan's film coming next year. And I'm going to talk about, kind of the one side and the other side towards, will this movie hit $1 billion at the box office? Now, when this project was announced, and obviously, when it came to July this year, people were expecting the typical Christopher Nolan teaser trailer. We didn't get that. Instead, we got our first trailer and first prologue and look at this film just recently. Obviously, it was last week, and there was a lot of talk around July that will this film have the marketing to boost it up to $1 billion at the box office or near that number, similar to what Inception did on a budget that was, about 50 million less than this film. So obviously this is a lot more expensive. He really needs to hit big numbers at the box office on this film for it to be a success. And yeah, I thought it's an important, it's an interesting topic to talk about when it comes to Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Now, if we're to look at some of his previous films, whether you're talking about Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, his last 3 films, which are all original projects, they're not, films that he's kind of basing off franchises. Obviously, Dunkirk was based off a real event, but I guess you could call it an original approach on that, that event. And also, it's a project and a topic that not much people outside Europe had heard of. So all 3 of these films had hit about 5 times, around that number, more than the budget they were created for. Obviously, Inception hit, nearly 900 million on a 160 million budget. Interstellar, on the same sort of budget, or I think it was slightly less, maybe, hit around nearly 700 million, and then Dunkirk on 100 million, obviously it was a lot shorter budget, was able to become the highest grossing World War II film of all time, ahead of Saving Private Ryan at the box office. And I'm talking about worldwide numbers, not just in America, because it hit, over 500 million. So all 3 of his last, original films, or, films that have an original influence, are films that have made nearly 5 times the budget that they were made for. If you look at Tenet, which is now being made on a budget of almost $225 million, which is 50 million more than Inception and Interstellar, or around that, this is a film that, if you were to go by the numbers, should really make around 900 million to $1 billion. The question, will it make $1 billion, and will people go to the cinema to see this? My answer, yes. And the reason I say that is because if we're to look at Christopher Nolan's career, if we're to look at the 3 films I've just mentioned, these are films that consistently Christopher Nolan has able, to make money off. He's able to bring people into the cinema, not just fans of, the event that he's talking about or the topic that he's making a film about, but just film fans and just regular people who only go to the cinema a few times a year. He's able, with an original idea, to pull them into the cinema, to get them intrigued about this project, and for them to come and watch his films. And I think that sole fact alone is something that he has that not much directors have right now. I think one of the only directors I can think of when it comes to, reaching the $1 billion mark that can do that is James Cameron. If anything, James Cameron is hitting the $2 billion mark, so he's, quite a, length away in terms of, box office. Obviously, I personally think Christopher Nolan is a better filmmaker, but I think James Cameron is one of the only directors you can put in the same sentence when it comes to original projects or projects that have an original approach hitting, high numbers at the box office. And I compare Tenet very much, and this is going to confuse a lot of you, but let me explain. I compare Tenet a lot to Avatar, and not in the way that it's a similar topic matter, because they're 2 completely different ideas, 2 completely different films, but Avatar and Tenet share similarity in that, going into Avatar, a lot of people went to the cinema because they, liked the look of the 3D, they liked the look of the technology. But I think the other thing that really brought people into the cinema was the fact that this was the director who had made Titanic. And, not just Titanic, Terminator 2, True Lies, Aliens, Terminator 1. You can go on and on with James Cameron, similar to how you can go on and on with Christopher Nolan in the films that he's made. And people know these films. They know all of these films, you know, they beloved these films around the world, and they've made a lot of money at the box office. And I noticed in the marketing campaign for Avatar, nearly every trailer or TV spot had from the director of True Lies, Terminator 2, Titanic, Aliens. These titles were all plastered over the marketing. And you saw when Avatar came out and when it started ramping up its marketing post-release, people were going to see Avatar. And this is another reason why I think Avatar 2 is going to kill it at the box office. Now, don't get me wrong, do I think it's going to make, you know, the same sort of money that Avatar 1 made? No, but I think it's going to do really well. And now coming back to Tenet, Tenet is that kind of film for Nolan. He's now riding on the back of 9 films which have done extremely well at the box office, in, you know, mainly his last 3 original films. They have done extremely well. They've, you know, 2 of them have gone over the 500 million mark. One of them has come close to $1 billion when it comes to his, you know, original work. Obviously, The Dark Knight Rises came after Inception, but we all knew that was going to make money anyway. But Inception itself was that film, you know, was able to drag people into the cinema, and the same sort of effect happened with Interstellar, and then obviously with Dunkirk, because not much people knew what that was in America, outside of Europe, of course. So I personally think that my answer is yes. I think it will hit $1 billion. I think it's going to be, this is definitely going to be a hard film for Nolan to do that with. But if, you know, he replicates that same sort of marketing pattern that Cameron did with Avatar, in terms of showing, look at the work I've done, you know, in the TV spots and the trailers. Obviously, he didn't do that in the first trailer, but I think in the second trailer, the third trailer, and the TV spots leading and post-release of the film, I think if he takes that kind of approach that Cameron took with Avatar, was showing that, look, I'm the director of Inception, the Dark Knight trilogy, Dunkirk, Interstellar, The Prestige, Memento. If he does that kind of approach, which I think he is going to do, because what is a Christopher Nolan trailer without from the director of the Dark Knight trilogy or Inception? Of course he's going to take that approach with the marketing, and I think when he does, there's going to be a lot more eyes looking at this film. And don't get me wrong, just through the first trailer, you know, the trailers had nearly 13 million views, an original film that no one has heard of. I mean, who's heard of Tenet? I mean, the reason people are watching that trailer is because Christopher Nolan, because of the work he's done, and because the marketing that he, you know, the approach in marketing that he takes captures people's attention. And I think that sort of approach, once it's ramped up over the coming months, is going to get a lot more people looking at this film. And I think, you know, a lot of the people who said they didn't think this film was going to cross over, you know, and make money or make a profit, I think they're going to be in their words come the next few months, because Christopher Nolan is a director that's been doing this for decades now. He's been doing it for almost 2 decades, and, you know, the profit's been going up, the filmmaking has been getting better, or if not on par with what he's been doing. And I think he's gained a trust in the audience that is, you know, irreplaceable in Hollywood. The only director that I can think of, there's only 3 or 4. You know, you're talking about Quentin, you're talking about, you know, Martin Scorsese, you're talking about James Cameron. There's only a few directors that can really come close to that sort of, you know, respect and, you know, the money that is earned from, or profit that is earned from an original film. So I think Christopher Nolan he's got a task. It's going to be hard for him to hit $1 billion with Tenet, but I think it's definitely plausible given the consistency of his films and on how well they're made, how well they're responded to, and also how well they've done at the box office. So I thought I'd bring you guys this quick video because I thought, you know, it's an interesting topic. Christopher Nolan is on a roll right now, but the question is, when is he going to start hitting $1 billion with the original films? Obviously, he's doing extremely well with the original films as it is, but I think Tenet, based on the size of the budget, I think this is a film that really he wants to cross the $1 billion mark, and I think it's got a chance of doing that. So that's my opinion on the issue. Let me know down below what you think. Do you think Christopher Nolan's Tenet will hit $1 billion at the box office, or do you think it's, you know, kind of out of his reach when it comes to this film? But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out some of my other content. If you did like the video, make sure to subscribe, and yeah, I'm going to be uploading loads over the coming days and weeks, so keep an eye out for that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.